Welcome to Winternomics.eth. Your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get ready to just Winternomics. Welcome. Welcome to Winternomics.eth. Your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get ready to just Winternomics. Welcome. Welcome to Winternomics.eth. Your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get ready to just Winternomics. Welcome. Winternomics.
good in the hood, everybody? How y'all doing? Everybody hear me? Sound check. Respect Henry for hosting the stream. Appreciate you, buddy. I'm guessing you're not awake right now. Oh shit, he is. What up, what up? Look at you, Rob. I sent fucking the islands awake too. Y'all some early motherfuckers. What up, Jester? How y'all doing? Back for more of that real Nomics morning edition. One of these days I'm gonna catch you guys in the U.S. time zones. Any minute. You guys surviving the social fucking injustice? I mean, social distancing. What up, Carlos Magico? Year of the Dragon. I think we already know what that's about if we've been keeping track of things. What up, what up? So, the world is changing fast and probably permanently in our lifetimes to something that none of us ever thought we'd see. And that's usually when shit sneaks up on you, right? When you think you know what it's going to be. So, some interesting things. What up, AUG TV? Let's see. Yeah, some interesting things to take a look at. So, actually, before we take a look at this guy, VIX again, gonna go back and keep updating on this guy. So we took a look at this. We found a level last show, 81.5, which was the height of the complacency show of the banking crisis. Looked like a good area to watch. We got a retrace on it. We did the TA over on this chart just because I don't want to fuck up the VIX Mageddon chart. Because I think it's such a work of art. Yeah, so there's the same level. We ported them back. Banking crisis. Good spot for the dump to come. Like I told you, while you're this far above like risk assumption levels, yeah, moves are violent. You're gonna get bounces, that you get from like pullbacks on the VIX, but you're not out of the woods. So this guy is miles away from where he is today. So you can keep oscillating around here, and crazy shit's gonna happen. So we look for him to pull off of this level. We got a pullback. It's a good area for him to actually bounce in. We'll see what he does today. He's down some more pre-market, so you have some decent moves. The show we did that in was 3 days ago. It was up here when we were at the level. So SPY, we'll use the futures, ES1. So right now you have a small bounce in the markets. They're going to come with that. By no means do you want to call this the bottom of it, but this is kind of what we thought. The 2018 lows would be threatened, if not stop run. They've been stop run now. So people who got ejected in this, anybody who hung on from this is now fully dead. The Dow definitely got deeper than I thought he should have, right? Thought the Dow should have come through here and turned up probably pretty shallow. He's gotten pretty deep, but this is the move we're looking for him to basically regain this 2018 and come back up, if it's going to do it at all. A huge piece of this thing is actually fucking Boeing, who is literally fucking dying. This motherfucker looks like a shitcoin. Check out Boeing. That is our space program right there. And we talk about the year of the dragon. We look at some of the side effects of things going on. China was the one to raise the alarm on the 737, really get that thing grounded worldwide. And not that it was a bad idea, but more to the point that China looks like, the white knight around the world, like doing good. They're in Mexico, around the world now offering services for coronavirus that no one knew to take seriously, and have emerged pretty much inheriting the goodwill of the United States, which has caught Donald Trump trying to bribe a German company working on a vaccine to not give it to their own people. China is now delivering ventilators, and Trump is trying to bribe the Germans out of their own cure. Think about how that looks, from 8 years ago, when the U.S. and NATO and Europe are looking like, strong allies. Serbia's, leadership already talking about Europe is broken and China is the savior. This is the unforeseen side effect of what's come after Trump, is that all the goodwill the United States has amassed since the end of World War II is pretty much being destroyed at a rapid, an unbelievable pace by what's going on with Trump. And that the damage of that is not really being well understood in the present time. But China is literally taking the planet away from the West on an all fronts attack. The timing of this, like we spoke about in the last show, there's no election happening this year. If you think that this social distancing thing is not going to fucking interfere with the ability to get Trump out of office, the timing of this breaking out behind a trade war that looked like it was to our interest and not China's might be the other way around. We end up in a trade war, and the day afterwards, a virus breaks out that China knows how to clamp down on in front of an election year. You can't actually get this fucking jackass out that thought it was a democratic hoax and left the whole country wide open and defunded the pandemic response. He is literally making the worst decisions possible in front of a government that's unified, that makes decisions with the assistance of AI. It's not sort of a mismatch. It's literally Michael Jordan versus Spud Webb. It's a crazy fucking situation you're dealing with. A lifetime emperor versus a reality talk show host. It's not even a contest. So this is one of the guys chief to getting us on the moon. This is Boeing, and he's being just absolutely obliterated. Another one of our CEOs has gone out the door now. Lockheed, another part of our space program, is really important. You've seen now 2 senators have been caught for dumping stocks in front of the crash. And like we talked about before, right? Information flows asymmetrically. Now you have a great idea where all the big CEOs who walked out the door got the fucking info from. They got it likely from the House Intelligence, from senators that they're going to have relationships with. And that's the way it's always going to be. It doesn't matter if they actually prosecute those senators. They most likely won't. But the reality is that's always, what's the point of having $1 billion if you don't have access to information before, like, mom and pop at home do? The reality is the government and everything about our business world is structured by people with means for the benefit of people with means. So it's irrational to think that a guy that has $1 billion should have the same access to information that, some dude has working as a janitor somewhere. And not to shit on janitors, but let's just face it, right? Bob Iger has more access to info than a janitor. And so that's going to be the nature of it. Where it comes from is obvious. It's always going to be from somebody connected to the government. If you watch the movie Wall Street, right? Blue Horseshoe loves Anacott Steel. We know how the game works. So that's not surprising. What you need to watch is that, we talked about this before. There was amazing dumping that went on from up here. And there was news stories that did not know why it was happening that reported on anomalous selling. And this was your first clue something's wrong, right? A massive seller showed up and volume began to increase as it started to fall off a cliff. By this point, you at least know something is not right because of the aggressive nature of the dump and all of your levels that were meaningful being challenged on the way up. This level, at least, you have something to pay attention to when the last low that generates your high gets taken out. The worst case, you could at least be on your guard. So there's a lot of things taking shape around what's going on with the United States right now, and we still don't have visibility as to when Corona is going to stop. There's still people partying in South Beach, and that's still an issue as far as the proliferation of the disease is going to be. How long it will. All right, so let's see what you guys think. Let's see what you think. You in lockdown. What's you? Alright, about to catch up. Yeah, BTC is pumping, and there's something else, right? BTC is pumping off of the same levels that the S&P is pumping off of the 2018 lows. Audio bit low. Has anybody else got that? How long? You can figure that out. Will this bring digital currencies in acceleration? Unless they're sovereign digital currencies, if you had the question for is crypto about to have it today, probably not. It still has no use case, right? Everybody dying for a reason for there to be mass adoption. At the end of the day, you have to recognize crypto is a solution that's looking for a problem. It's a slow, antiquated technology that doesn't serve any real purpose because most people behind crypto don't understand what the fuck money is. So they don't get why deflationary currency is fucking retarded. But the reality is that economies work on having an inflationary currency because it stops hoarding. It forces you to spend it into the economy to create assets or businesses. Crypto is the exact opposite because it's structured by fucking idiots who don't actually know why the currency is inflationary and how fractional reserve lending actually works and how leverage works. So all the people who are always saying crypto because look at all the money they're printing, those people have the IQ of like a food processor, maybe lower, because they have no fucking idea what they're talking about, have the financial education of a lab rat, and don't know they're fucking stupid. That's the typical crypto person. That's why they can't figure out how the planet got from like horse and buggy 120 years ago to spaceships later on inflationary money. If it didn't work, you wouldn't be enjoying all the shit you're on to complain about it. Court is Q. Well, if you watched the last show, we already talked about that. Trump likely didn't end up in office on accident, along with the Boris Johnson, who are two bigots who make decisions with very narrow focuses and white nationalist attitudes. They literally are the dumb money. They condition reality to fit the narrow window they look at reality through, and they've ultimately made decisions in the face of a global crisis that was slower than a centralized, efficient China. That's a competitive disadvantage for us and an advantage for them. So the more you look at like what China is benefiting from this virus, the more it looks like this is not an accident. So many things about where it happens and what's happening to the world since only benefit China and absolutely slow down all of their enemies. What should be a pinned post? Explain that crypto people are fucking stupid? I think at this point everybody gets that except for crypto people. Oh, right. So, let's see here. See if we can open another chart for you guys. Uh-oh. Don't jam. Morning, Ivy. Alright, let's see. How you doing? Come here. Ivy says good morning. She has to be left out of the show, so you know. Just say hi to Ivy. Can you even see her? What up, Munchkin? Can't sit on Dave's cables. Alright. So, this is BTC overlaid with the S&P 500 to dispel one major myth in crypto, that BTC somehow acts as a hedge on the financial system. For everybody who says, is this going to bring on digital currencies? Here's your answer. It was never a hedge on the financial system. Only fucking stupid people who don't know what the word correlation means ever thought something 6 times more volatile than the S&P is actually a safer place to go in a fucking crisis. Those are called morons. This takes less than 5 minutes to figure out. See it? Not sort of kind of correlated, like completely fucking correlated. But more amplified. Means the down moves are worse and the up moves are worse. Never ever was it a hedge on a financial system because it's a deflationary asset. It's still risky as fuck and has no use case and has no forward valuation prospects beyond being a structured Ponzi scheme. No one wants this dog shit as their currency in the entire fucking planet. Not today, not yesterday, not tomorrow. Only people sucking on an e-pen and have the education of a lab rat think this means shit. And they're ignoring the fact that there is billion-dollar central bankers that terraformed your planet that probably know more about anything to do with building a planet than any one of you who are keep on promoting this shit Like your fucking stupid Trump tards that can't say something different than the dumb shit coming out of Pomp's mouth that's been wrong the entire fucking crash. He killed everybody. I mean, Jesus Christ, say something else. If you're a crypto person, have crypto in your handle, fucking just jump in traffic. Waste of space. It's like the same dumb conversation for the last half a decade. And you haven't realized that none of this shit you're saying makes any fucking sense yet. Look. Not a financial fucking hedge. Never ever. Not even in 2017 in the bull run. It is exactly doing the bull run of the fucking stock market. Got it? Stop asking stupid shit about garbage coins for fucking pedophiles. There you go. That should help you out some. See? That was simple, wasn't it? The crypto people just fucking, they're just the bottom of the fucking barrel of education in every fucking space that you could ever imagine. It's just like the same stupid shit for fucking years. Like, sweet Jesus. Stop saying it already. Read a fucking book. Do anything. Yeah, I seen the VIX pop up in crypto. Then, once you start watching that, you realize that nobody in crypto has an original idea. They never did. And everything out there is a cheap copy of what happens here. So if you want to fucking know what's going down, you come here first. Or you get some dog shit dribble repackaged up out there for plebs who don't know better. Why do I think the corona case numbers in Japan are so low, relatively speaking? Because Japan's organized and their people are educated. So they're not throwing spring break parties mixing with each other when they fucking know there's a pandemic running wild next door in China. America's fucking stupid, run by a bigot. That's the difference. This country is full of stupid people who have the shittiest education. What? We're ranked number 26 in math in the entire world. Like outside the G20, math is tied to logic. Americans are not logical. That is why you have people partying while there are videos of people dropping dead from the disease at the same time. Japanese people as a culture kind of respect being educated. It's just a different population. China has overt control and can move an entire population all correlated. They can coordinate it. So it's just the difference. What up, Snow Ripper? Thanks for coming to the show. Good to see you. One of our lady traders, OG status. I don't know what triggered what. AUG TV telling you facts. Crypto people are fucking dumb. I'm not sure if that was what you're talking about, but yeah, that's just stating the obvious. That's not triggered or anything. That's just something some people don't want to hear. But let's face it, Ayers is the top of your food chain. He's a fucking pedophile. Jeff Bezos is building spaceships. That's the top of the internet world. Big difference, not comparable. And that's also true sequencing. The Japanese culture is not individualistic, so they're not going to do selfish shit that will endanger everybody around them like is common in the West. It's just a difference of cultures. What does holding BTC and saying crypto people are fucking stupid have to do with each other? Trading something doesn't mean you're married to it. Learn the difference. I love that comment. If you call crypto people stupid, you must not be in BTC. Bitch, I've been in BTC before you knew what the fuck it was. Triple OG, motherfucker. I'm where all your OGs figured out what markets were. 2013, before you even knew crypto. Next. All the assumptions from all the new guys who don't know where they are. I love that. Anybody got a good question? Something that requires some brain cells? Throw it in here. Win crypto. Jesus. Shit sounds like a fucking parrot. So, what up, Don? Good to see you. How are you guys navigating this sell-off? It's been pretty vicious, but definitely had a couple different shows here to keep you pointing in the right direction. Property is most likely in serious danger, but the acceleration of this sell-off being as quick as it happened, you don't see the ripple effect yet. You think about it. We talked about it a little bit in the last show. There is no way that without a major stimulus package, that the mortgage market's not in deep shit. The sell-off pretty much really originated. Here, let me go back over. The speed of this thing is what's so crazy, right? From right here, February 19th, all this damage has really happened, in the back of February. Nobody in America actually, since Trump wasn't giving any directives, he gave no indication about this thing being a pandemic, right, for the first portion of the sell-off. And once you get into March, right, nobody's being stopped from going to work or social distancing, and none of that's happening yet. So all this damage has occurred within the month of March, as far as like the working class population of the United States goes. 74% of America is check to check. So this is like just a matter of time. I mean, anybody you think of like in the food service industry or any jobs like that, they're out of money the week they got sent home and couldn't come back in. This social distancing and full shutdown and citywide shutdowns in places, bar shutdowns, that would have snuck up on working class people literally overnight, especially because working class folks aren't as tuned into like day-to-day news events unfolding like we are, because we're in markets all the time. So we're always watching what's happening and see a whole lot more headlines from the morning to the evening than like mom and pop who come home at 6 p.m. to catch a summary of the day. So you're aware of a lot more so than probably many of your own family members who don't trade markets, that have like regular 9-to-5 jobs. They just see the summary or end of the day and don't necessarily have like a fascination on the level that many people do who are trading and actively want to know what moves might be moved around by news. So for the bulk of the world, or the bulk of America at least, they wouldn't have really realized shit was serious until like pretty much about like here. Like middle of the month is when it started to get really obvious. And then people start to buy out everything, going forward. So people didn't have time to stockpile food. Most people don't have enough money to really do more than a cycle of bills, if that. Most people are check to check, so they definitely don't have a cycle of bills. So all of the people who can't pay their mortgage payment are going to happen over here. So no one's seen that yet, right? All these check to check folks, one thing I know about it, I did mortgages for a long time. And the first thing people stop paying, believe it or not, is actually the mortgage. You think of like all the payments you have in your house. You could have your cell phone, your car bill, your house bill. When I did refinances and subprime, surprisingly enough, because the house payment is the biggest payment, it's considerably the largest outflow of cash out of what remains. So most people will actually pay the smaller things to keep a wad just in case, which means the house payment's the one they don't pay first when in financial trouble, which is a crazy thought because that's where you fucking live. But that's exactly what I found after years of doing it. I did tens of millions of dollars worth of originations, and that's the story you get with people refinancing. That's the thing that they just couldn't pay because they would have nothing for food if they got in a real crunch. So you can understand that makes kind of sense too, right? If you have, $2,000 left to your name, and the house is going to eat half of it, and you've got food, and you've got kids, 3 kids, and you have any forward visibility issues with like money, you're going to squat in the house and buy food. So that's what you see coming. A whole lot of investors are not going to get paid rent, and a whole lot of owners are not going to be able to pay their first of the month payment and are going to hoard what they can. The fact that no one has a week's worth of money to survive on average in America, because America's household net worth is negative, means that this is a shitstorm and a half. Trump's proposal has gone from $1,000 per American to like up to $3,000, depending on how many kids or dependents you have. That's really still only like a month cycle for the average American household to make it, with multiple kids. So the difference in the banking crisis is, and, let me get this thing real quick. Let's see, so how many days have we got here? So that's 29 days. Go back to the banking crisis. Stop being crazy, trading view. Stop it. Alright, let's see. So to put this in perspective, what we just saw happen right there from the minute it starts selling, let's put it right where it starts selling, right there. This is 29 days. Let's see how far we went that fast, because this is even faster, I think. Why you start selling? So you're down 21% in 29 days. Yeah, it's very banking crisis-like, right? That's how much faster and more damaging this is. It's just ridiculously more violent than even the banking crisis is. So in 29 days, this thing's down almost like hit down almost 10% more than the initial sell-off in the banking crisis. And this is another good thing for context, right? As bad as this is, it can get a lot fucking worse as long as the VIX doesn't come the fuck down. That's the part I told you about, right? Even though the VIX can bounce and you can see some aggressive whipsaws that look like, holy shit, the bottom's in, as long as the VIX is as many miles above 21 as it is, it's suicide to go in there and hold anything like for a longer term until this thing restructures itself. What's this? I changed that. So put him back over top of it and you'll see that, right? The VIX does fade, but it'll still kill you. See, the VIX right here is fading this entire way while the market makes new lows here and then puts in the final low obviously here, but the VIX is coming down this entire time when the market puts in the second wave that really destroys people. This last leg going to the New Year fucking killed like anybody who wasn't dead in this one, and then it bottomed. And before you really got anywhere, right, the VIX had to like completely chill the fuck out before you had normal risk assumption begin again and the market actually start to trend again. So I tell you, don't have to rush in. You look at where this is, it's not nearly fucking as bad as it can actually get when the VIX is sitting up in crazy ass levels like over here at 70, 80 where he is now. He can hang around in the 60s and oscillate and fucking kill you if you go in there and try to hodl something. So it's a trader's market for now with this kind of volatility. That being said though, right, so we come back to this. Let me get rid of that guy. I don't know why there's two of these. So yeah, this is more violent, and the ripple effect, depending on how it's handled or not handled, car loans are going to get defaulted on faster than housing loans. More people are, housing loans are going to get defaulted on faster, then car loans next, and then revolving debt. So yeah, they're going to need to do something incredible, because one thing that's different about the banking crisis at 29 days in, when you're down here, the country isn't turned off, like people are still allowed to go to work. People that have problems in their houses coming down are still going to restaurant jobs, still going to, try and sell real estate, even though it's declining. Many of the fields, hospitality is still happening, the cruise ships are still cruising. This is totally different, right? The cruise ship industry, we gave you a good heads up on that, about getting on one of these boats many shows ago. If you are even looking at this, right, anything hospitality is just dead. We warned you guys about cruise ships on the show back here in the 30s before that last Grand Princess got the virus. This is one of my favorite companies, just absolutely annihilated. Anything where people go is totally toast. So there's businesses that aren't producing any revenues anymore while you are in this crisis. So there is no recovery coming from those people. They're totally dead in the water, and you still don't know when you're getting out of lockdown. That wasn't the banking crisis. So the forward prospects of this actually look a lot worse, because you don't have any ability to like kickstart things again, or no one's going to kickstart again, and everybody tied to all these different loans need to be serviced. All the loans tied to all these different people, need to be serviced, and they're not able to be serviced. So when does that start, and how many fucking people will you have to fucking sit there and carry and on the back of the government? Again, this benefits China, right? Here's the thing that I don't think I see anybody talking about. Who holds the biggest financial nuclear weapon in the United States? The Chinese fucking government. They're holding like the most government treasuries of any entity on the fucking planet outside the Fed. You dump that on the United States while it's trying to create a stimulus package to save the country and drive rates into the ground, they can literally fucking destroy the fucking bond market and shoot rates to the ceiling, and you're really fucked. That's something no one's talking about. China has an insane position now. They hold all the medical devices needed to help us test and figure out what the fuck is going on. They're the white knight around the world right now. We look like idiots because Trump has tried to pigeonhole Germany, and they're holding a nuclear weapon on our bond market at the same time as we're trying to fucking buy enough government bonds to drive rates into the ground to stimulate the economy out of the ditch. That's a crazy fucking amount of leverage China has gained overnight from fucking COVID-19. So, food for thought. Respect Caleb and Snow. Appreciate y'all. Get back to where I can see your questions. People's pensions are gonna get out. There's so many interconnected things that can get fucking smoked right now because you can't like see when someone's gonna earn money, when some of these businesses will earn revenues. All these businesses, you know, what does the balance sheet of a company look like? Debt, assets, and owner's equity. Well, there's no servicing of any of the debt if you can't send a boat into the ocean right now. What about the airplanes? You can't fly anybody. Airplanes are notoriously shit businesses that have really tight margins. That's why Flybe just got destroyed in moments. They literally are living by the wire. They need the revenue of their operating business. Without that, right, that never happened in the banking crisis. Airplanes didn't turn off overnight. Cruise ships didn't get ported. Hotels didn't get shuttered. That is never happened. So there isn't even a model of this for us to look at. You know, when this happened in 1918, you're not nothing like the society that we're at today. The biggest human population, the most advanced technology, and a pathogen just shut the whole planet off literally in a month. Respect Javali. Do I think gold will go up in this environment? I think gold will see a sell-off as well. Gold's been seeing a sell-off. We'll go look at that and explain that. I've mentioned that in the high VIX environment, you're looking at deflation. Every asset's unsafe. Cash is king. Let's see. Take on the cruise line industry and Trump's recent announcement. Like I said, I'd have a clip on that. It's actually in the highlights on this page for cruise lines. And in there, we spoke specifically about Carnival when we talked about what was a safer place to be. The conversation was revolving around Disney and that like stuff about social gathering, the theme parks were all terrible ideas. Oh, I'm on Disney. And I told you like things that keep you away from people, right? AntiSocial is going to do better than social. And the AntiSocial play was Zoom. And you can look at Zoom in terms of, do I have this chart up? Yeah, I do. That's Zoom, right? He keeps you away from people. And over cruise lines, that was actually the synthetic idea you guys, the pair trade. Zoom over ZCL, right? This is your bull market, if you remember it. It's on the front page. That's your real bull market. That was what I gave you. I don't know which show it was. It was either Chuckles or Muttley. It's a couple ago, and told you about this before Carnival got the fucking the germ on the boat. This is an actual bull market, right? And this is how markets work. It's an arbitrage of perception. What makes the most sense with a pathogen? Something that lets me do business without seeing you. What's the worst fucking idea you could ever have with a global pathogen? Getting on a fucking boat trapped in the middle of the ocean with some sick motherfucker, right? So you look at that, like it's the same thing if you looked at Zoom, TeleDoc. Those guys are like doctor that does not want to get fucking like, you know, mortally wounded coming to treat you. Fucking TeleDoc your ass, bitch. I'm not coming to see your sick fucking ass. And put TeleDoc over somebody I can't fucking play anymore. Disney, every fucking park closed. You know, hashtag right. It's a bull market. That's what bull markets are, right? Arbitrages of perception, where the crowd's consensus beliefs are mispricing reality. And this is something that most people didn't consider. Who benefits from this? There are bull markets, always. There's always a bull market somewhere, and it's about thinking objectively about where that should go. So that's why we had put Zoom on here and showed you that before, because this is the play that's available. Get me the fuck away from your sick ass, and hey, I'll talk to you over here. Zoom versus, you know, cruise lines. Cruise lines need a bailout. Airlines need a bailout. They're fucking both dead. They don't have any forward visibility when they're going to go cruising again. Even my kid's school has now extended spring breakout another 2 weeks, and it's most likely going to take out the whole year. They have no idea when they can bring kids back. You know, ultimately, kids are the main mixers to bring the germ home to everybody. So if anything should stay closed, it's a fucking school. Nobody has visibility. Just, you know, Trump has stated something that could go on until August. Just imagine somebody living in San Francisco and LA and New York that works in the hotel or bar industry. You cannot earn income and you are check to check person and you're shut down for a quarter of a year. Is the government going to float every working class American's entire bills for a quarter of a year and backstop every loan and backstop the corporate bond market while China's sitting on a nuclear weapon on our bond market at the same time? Talk about going from leader of the world to fucking, China's bitch overnight. This is why I call it the year of the dragon. It's fucking crazy. Let's see. Yeah, unemployment's going to get ridiculous. I don't know if anybody's got targets on that. 20%. I think it can threaten the 10% that happened after the banking crisis. You're going to see it's just a worse situation in the banking crisis. Businesses weren't fully dead. They're fully fucking wrecked right now. Everything, the knock-on effects, like when Obama had to save the auto industry because it was failing, it was to stop all the interconnected businesses from fucking going off a cliff that would be tied to it. Peripheral businesses that literally live and die by the auto industry. This is so much worse. Every industry just shut down from something, a complete shutdowns from something no one's ever seen and don't know when they're coming back. It's not just that the financial system is struggling, it's that the whole world is paralyzed. So it's something that Trump's team has to negotiate, has to navigate something that literally no one in living history has an experience with. That's crazy. The Great Depression is one thing, but Spanish flu in the modern era, this is a pivotal moment. It can literally change the tide from a Western-led world to the Eastern-led world, and I think China is seizing on that moment. You had to get the right leaders in power in England and in the U.S. and in many of our allies, leaders that would make a shitty choice. And not surprisingly enough, you got a lot of white nationalists in power who make bigoted decisions against the interest of the world. And it was exactly the worst fucking decision Boris and Trump could have made at the exactly right time to push China into a world leadership position that they could never have gotten with a military attack. They could never really strike the U.S. anyway if they wanted to. Their navy can't reach this place. They don't have the tech. The single best way to take this country down, you're looking at it, was a fucking pathogen with a person in office too stupid to make the right decision with the right timing. Every moment he wasted literally created a massive differential between the United States and China going forward. So that was the reason we looked at China versus us. Right? Just like looking at Zoom versus social businesses. China has definitely created a power play. Even with the bounce in the market, you can see China is keeping a relative strength versus the United States since we've become under lockdown, that if this keeps going, this could be big. China's coming off of a huge cycle of having its ass handed to it by the United States. That's a crash cycle, just like you recognize in BTC. And they basically been in a crash versus us since the bottom of the banking crisis. What if this is the year of the dragon, right? If this actually bottoms out here, don't get me wrong, this is a hell of a downtrend. And we know something about calling trend reversals, right? You don't just pull it out of your ass. He's got to reverse some serious levels here. This is going to be the first level that you care about. If this ratio gets beat out of here, well, that's a horrible drawing. Man, killing me. You get the idea. That gets taken out. You see this price, do something along these lines. It might be a new day for China going into the 2020s, and it might be a changing of the guard in the world. Remains to be seen, but like I said, there isn't anybody in living history that has seen a complete shutdown of this many sovereign powers all at once. And China is back operational, saying they've got no new cases that are originating within, and they're back to turning all their production systems back on and moving forward with their space program while we're dead in the water. So this is a ripple in our economic system that is unlike any other. The banking crisis does not actually compare to this. This is far crazier, the forward prospects of what you're seeing here. You could see your way out of the banking crisis, you could, not everybody, but there was information out there that you could see that the end of that would be in sight. This one has really murky vision out, 6 months to a year. What happens to all the interconnected parts of the economy if we don't get some part of it turned back on? There's just so many people codependent on different parts of the system. It's so dangerous. Oh yeah, gold. I'll get that on the next run. Spectravale. Is America fucked? It's in a position to be fucked. What's the worst case economic scenario you can imagine? Fucking Great Depression level shit. Even in the Great Depression, right? The country wasn't fully turned off. This is something you never got from the banking crisis or the Great Depression. A full shutdown of all economic systems. You never seen it. This is really murky to really look at, like what's out there. Why do stocks like Zoom go up in a deflationary environment? Relativistic value arbitrage. It is literally outperforming even in a deflationary environment. It's telling you something. That thing is mispriced as shit because the entire world economy is going online, and Zoom is basically as well positioned as you could be for it. It is a deflationary environment, and it doesn't have a shit ton of upside momentum, but it is actually relatively outperforming the other assets crashing in deflation. So you don't see that Zoom and Teladoc are like leaving the building like Tesla in its pump, but you do see that they're holding ground while the rest of the world burns. So when you remove the dollar from things and look at these assets in terms of other assets, they're fucking destroying anybody who's not as well positioned as they are. They're a mispriced asset, massively. Bro, you call so much perfect things. Try to get timing right in here so that this is useful to you guys. One of the things that always bothered me from college is watching the mainstream media tell you stuff that had no value and killing a ton of people. At least you take your time to show up here at whatever wacky ass time of night or day I turn this show on. Hopefully the information is beneficial to you guys. Let's see. Damn, Ram, thanks for throwing out some free subs to everybody. Much appreciated. Let's see. From studying all your stuff, what would be the most efficient way to progress in trading without knowing the technical aspects yet? Do you suggest learning a lot about one asset, for example, and learning the psychology of people trading that asset class? Well, if you've read all my stuff, that question doesn't make sense. Because one of the things I tell you is that the only asset you're trading against is the human asset, right? Their behavior looks the same in any asset class. So learning humans is where you start. It doesn't really matter which market, whether it's crypto or stocks or anything like that. The behavior of a person losing 50% of his shit doesn't change because it was a crypto asset or a shit, or Apple. You lose half your money and can't pay your bills, you're gonna have the same problem at your home. So the emotional structure of a person losing half their shit doesn't change from asset class to asset class. Understanding people, understanding what makes you tick, how you make your decisions. We're heavily focused on the psychological end of human behavior in markets because that is what ultimately comes before you make a choice to buy anything, whether it's FOMOing Bitcoin or a stock or trying to knife catch a crash with a pandemic out there. The way you make decisions, depends on the way you look at information and how you observe it and how you bias it or don't bias it. Learning that you may do those things unconsciously to information and delete information that's necessary to make a more informed choice. Learning how that mechanisms work, how you make choices, is what we focus on. Technical aspects of it, I show you a lot of that. Looking at wave structure and just how to define direction is important. You have to learn how to define risk. If you've gone through the website, I have a lot of before and after charts that show you technical setups, so you can look at the way things were, what I thought of it, and what you would do in case it did X or did Y. Learning to define risk is a more important aspect of it. How you play and knowing what you're going to lose before you enter, understanding what your possible rewards are for the risk you're taking. All of that is kind of just commonsensical shit, really, that you port into markets from any other business you'd run. If you ran a restaurant, you'd have to have a budget for how much food you're going to buy, how much spoilage you're going to take, and if things don't go well, what's the worst case scenario. That shouldn't be different in markets. So a lot of what I show people is common sense at looking at information and realizing that their behavior in other systems is the same thing in markets, and changing it in other systems will help you change it over here. Um, I would say before you get worried about jumping in to push a button, you figure out some basics of like having a plan coming in. Make projections, look at the markets, put your information down. I put people in groups a lot so that they have to put their ideas out in front of one another, which prevents you from like hindsight TAing what you're doing or changing it. Because if you on your own are like held, to your just responsibility by yourself, you'll let yourself get away with shit. In a cooperative group where you're kind of working together, you kind of can't do that, and you're forced to like be honest with yourself in your own analysis. And if you can get out of your own way, you can make adjustments as you make mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes, but you want to make those and be honest enough to like change course when you do. Don't do what you see in crypto where the market keeps crashing and everyone's like, well, it's gonna alter back. Don't make the same mistake twice. If you make the same mistake, it's a learning opportunity. If you repeat the mistake, then you're the dummy. So I think forming a group and kind of like having a team to help you go through the research like we do in Telegram gets you kind of a base of like where you're going, because other people are a little further ahead than others. Some people are already trading, some people are not. I think it's good to have a work group than doing it yourself and kind of trying to figure out which way to go on your own. But I definitely think learning how you think first is important before you worry about an indicator or any of that stuff. A lot of people don't realize their psychology fucks with the way they see charts. So they think there's going to be an indicator that fixes your behavior, and that's not true. And that's what a lot of groups sell people, is bullshit indicators, when really the psychology of the person is not in a place necessary to use the indicator or to read the price in an objective fashion and make a decision that would outcompete somebody who's not suffering from those psychological hangups. There's a lot. If there was a simple answer, I would give it to you, but there isn't. I've trained a couple hundred people out there, and there isn't a 1 hour YouTube video I can give you to show you how to trade. If that was actually fucking possible, it would be found already. The reality is, like anything else, it requires like apprenticeship and time and experience in the market to kind of learn some things about yourself and about people. And there isn't a shortcut to doing that. That's probably the most complete answer I can give you if it wasn't really on point of one specific thing. Sequencing, does China takeover equal crash of humanity event forecast in 2030? I believe the crash of humanity event is what allows them to take over and, become just the majority dominant force in the world. If it comes earlier from this pandemic, it gives them a chance to take over the world sooner. Can you just talk about Germany? But since middle of the week, we have panic and more companies. I'm not sure what else there's to say about Germany versus anybody else. Everybody's in the same shit in Europe. Companies shutting down, that's pretty much the story for everybody. And, it remains to see how much worse the knock-on effects are in Europe than in America. But the West as a whole is in deep shit altogether. People are stocking up guns in the U.S. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a problem later. Something to think about, let's see. The U.S. has guns, a lot of fucking guns. And when you think about what we just said about the financial crisis, just the Dow Jones. This dump wave just begun. The reality is that we face like a situation of starvation for some people. We already know people don't have money to survive like weeks on end. Who knows how long the government takes to send us any money if people need to feed their families. But people have guns. And that's different than China locking people in buildings, right? People don't have money to fucking live, but they've got bullets. And when starvation hits, that's when you're going to see what this really turns into. Because in 2 weeks or so, or if less than that, I would assume that crime starts to escalate rather rapidly unless they start to get food and supplies out to everybody who was check to check. Because 74% of this country doesn't have probably enough food for 2 weeks. And no one's talking about that problem, right? Everyone who's being told to stay in your house to quarantine for the next month, do you know exactly how those motherfuckers are going to feed a family of 4 or 5 for 2 weeks, if they were check to check right now, do you know how many fucking people are in that predicament of like, I need food, and didn't have savings to acquire freezer loads full of food? That's on top of the fucking not paying all the payments tied to all the credits out there. You have like a real risk of like a fucking famine and looting and social upheaval behind this that will further disrupt the country's ability to restart itself. And no one is mentioning anything about it. So there is a lot of stuff coming at us. This is definitely as crazy or more crazy to see, to live through, than the banking crisis, because no one's got visibility out of it. So I would tell you to keep your eyes on this and keep your eyes on that VIX. You know, you're not out of the woods yet. This thing, he's pumping just since we've been on, right? He was back in the zone. Again, above this level, Armageddon begins. And if the fear shockwave actually turns into a fear uptrend, because we do end up in famine, social upheaval, and possibly war, this is the one thing nobody's betting on. That this shockwave has to be stochastic. This prices have to revert the way it always has. Everyone's like, when the VIX comes back down, what if he doesn't? What if he has a lot longer way to go? You know, what if he does something like this shit over here in the 80s? Do you know when we did the show in VIX-mageddon, right? The VIX is down here at 40s. And he's doubled since we did the show. We hit 80s in this. And literally the whole world shut off since we did VIX-mageddon. You know what happens if this motherfucker goes from 80 and pulls a Black Monday and gets to 160 in your financial system now? If you actually double this spot, it's going to be fucking like literally Armageddon. So, not out of the woods yet. There are opportunities. Somebody asked me about gold. Gonna wrap up here soon. So this is our gold level. We had talked about him in this bull flag when he broke up many shows ago, and he did a little squiggle up here before he pumped. Yeah, this is the show we talked about him. We showed him here, and we showed this bull flag when he spiked out, hit 17, and then deflation hit the planet. And there's no safe place. Not shitcoin, not gold. Everything got fucking smoked at the same time. The one thing is, gold did do better than, you know, stocks. So if you were, let's see, wrong one. We'll just use, yes, this is the S&P futures. So gold was the hedge, really, kind of like Zoom. He's risk off, and this is really what risk off means. It's not that it goes up in terms of dollars, it's that it outperforms other assets relatively so. So dollars really was the safest place to be. But gold, if you were hedged in gold and not purely exposed to stocks, would have reduced some of your damage to the market, because gold at least, you know, countered what happened when broader assets sold off. But this is the difference between a Paris trade and understanding, like, you know, trading in dollars versus trading in other assets. Most people don't even realize what I'm saying when I say that. But this is what gold does. It preserves value against other assets. But in deflation, cash is king over everything, because you're having debt destruction and you're having a depletion of dollars in the system. So you're actually having the scarcity is actually the dollar. So when assets like these fold in on themselves and credit markets start to take damage, the safest place is actually the USD of all things, which most people don't think, but it totally is. So yeah, that's it. That's what I can tell you for gold. So in extraordinary deflation, he won't protect you either. You'll just take less damage. But the reality is, he shouldn't be almost in anything. That's why, you know, Buffett and those guys are now out to cash, because that is the safest place to be. And however far, you know, the water level in the pool drops to bring asset prices down equals how big a potential discount you can get with more powerful dollars in the future after the deflationary cycle happens. Unlike inflation, where your dollars need to be put into something to avoid it losing purchasing power, it is gaining purchasing power right now. So that is the one time the dollar is the best place to be over a business, over real estate, over stocks, is in that particular moment of the deflationary swing, which we have. That too nerdy? Not nerdy enough? You guys dorked out for the morning? Alright, let me catch up on the show quick. Sun's rising, so this show's about done. What do I think about the Democratic election? I think the elections in general are fucked. They all require fucking people to go vote. I think you're going to see the entire election process grind to a halt like everything else socially. I don't think you can get the president out. I don't think you can see a normal election. How the hell are people in 50 states going to vote with a fucking parabolic move in this disease? It's going to torpedo the U.S. election this year, and likely keep Trump in office under an exception that no one's ever seen needed to be had before. Some probably Emergency Powers Act is going to be in place for him to do that. Leon, you're looking for some kind of training method, like doing replays and stuff? There's a certain point you need to get to before you worry about that. You're in my free Telegram right now. If you've gotten with the group, you'll get there. Once you're in the voice channel, Twitter, Discord is also free. I have some voice calls, and I'll talk to you a little bit more in voice and some of the things that you see in text. And in text, you'll realize a lot of the things that you translate in your head are your own biases superimposed on my words. In voice, it's a lot different. And these shows, I actually put a lot of instructions in here, showing you how to look at price structure and defining risk. I've done in a few. It's a process. I don't throw people out there to say start hitting the button right away. There's a lot of stuff about the way you make choices you're not aware are going to fuck you before you get to the market, and we deal with that first. If you're interested in getting to a place where you get trained on how to get in the market, you're in the right community for it. So you've only been here about a month. Just stay in there and we'll get you there. A third friend of yours is getting a gun. Sounds wonderful. I do not want to come to wherever the fuck it is you're living. What is the best currency to hedge against a crash? Pretty sure I answered that. Yeah, a hungry person is the desperate person, and hunger plus having weapons all over the place in the U.S., they better figure out something real fucking fast, because this can get out of control real quick. A failing of the Bank of International Settlement, what effect would that have? That would be gridlock for the fucking known world. I'm not even sure what I could tell you that would be. I'm not going to bullshit you. I don't think anybody has an idea what happens if the BIS fails and the central bank of central banks goes down. China and Russia and a couple guys have the BRICS Bank, and that is their backup plan to basically unseat the central banking power of the West. They can't do it though as long as you have the central banking elite still intact. So could that be a target of this? As far as we're seeing everything's a viable target for China to take apart. That's an interesting point you brought up, to see if there's any pressure that actually comes down in the central bank. As we can see, the central bankers literally can't stop the fucking crash, right? The entire system folding in on them, it's everything they can do to try and support it. And there's still not forward visibility to see what happens next. China is sitting on a nuclear weapon for the U.S. financial system and has a backup banking structure to go against the modern central banking structure we all grew up and know. So I would think that everything that has to do with Western power structure in the world is a target for China. Asking prices for houses have barely moved, and a lot of landlords see themselves as safe, still saying it's a great time to buy. Yeah, again, it's going to take time. The real estate market's far less efficient than fucking stocks. So it's going to take a minute for defaults and things to ripple around to the front end of the market and damage private investors, damage, private equity, and start to fucking bring the market in. It's not something that reacts as fast as stocks do. It is correlated, but the speed of the market is something that's going to take a minute for them to realize just exactly what's happening. No one really thought that houses were melting down in October and November of 2008. By the time they knew there was a problem, it was too late, and there was no demand to get them out if they wanted to get out. So it'll take a second to see that. Ultimately, the entire economic system that allows it to be demand for real estate is shuttered. So you have to expect it's just a matter of time before it ripples on through to the front end. Let's see. Tulsi back to the elections. Did anybody even care about her? Thanks for the bits, people. Trivial, Henry. Holy crap, Ram Sheeple, man. Jesus Christ. You guys are crazy. 10,000 to 5,000 fractal live. Sorry I didn't see that live. I had the chart up, but much appreciated. Thank you guys for always watching the show. I hope it does benefit you as much as you do there, at least more. One of the things about the show is doing it that the information is timely and useful. And just imagine if your mainstream media actually told you shit that got you out of the way of a freight train instead of fucking the shit that put you in front of it. Ultimately that can't be true. Value is scarce, and to put out value information and be widely seen is actually a very difficult balancing act. So I do appreciate all you guys that show up here and find value in the show, and that are in the channels, that have come from here and are learning new shit. Your participation is huge in being able to see the emotional structure of the marketplace, and I'm very open about that. I use the channel to basically study behavior and pick that up in places in the market, like when we did Tesla. Watching people and the way they make decisions is reading price. That's technical analysis. If you can understand where the people make choices, you can be ahead of the price. That to me is the only indicator that will ever do that. Not Ichimoku clouds, not MACDs, not RSIs. If you want to figure out where the next candle is going to be, figure out where the next person is going to decide to hit buy at, and that will form that candle. Thought precedes actions, and understanding people's motives and the way they make decisions on the information the news puts out, that is really still technical analysis, from the human behavioral standpoint. So that's our focus in looking at markets, not indicator focused. Yeah, man, all you guys keep safe. Don't bullshit on getting your shit stockpiled. If you have to go get stuff when there's real pandemonium out there, it's going to be dangerous for you to be out there. And the one thing we do know, it doesn't take much to push what looks like civilized society directly off a fucking cliff. Get water, get the things you need. If you got kids and family, don't wait. People are going to get more aggressive and more crazy, and it's going to devolve at a faster speed than anybody really thinks it is, It's never a good idea to be the last one to react in a panic. And that's what's happening, because we see in Miami, the spring breakers are still partying and worried about having fun over not fucking getting a virus that's killing people, and they can verify it. So don't slack on it. I'm hearing, from my cousins in Jamaica, freaking out that it's down there. It's everywhere. Do the quarantine thing. Stay away and get your food, get your canned goods, and all that stuff. And just try to ride the storm out. And hopefully we can have the right directions here in the show to help people, if possible, to generate some additional incomes that you're not going to be able to from regular work that's been turned off. Keep your eyes on things. This isn't done yet, and like I said, China is taking our place as a white knight in the world. That can't be overlooked. While everybody's fucking in a shitstorm with this, China is moving forward on their One Belt, One Road policy, and very much unifying the world under a Chinese vision. Well, that's not good. That sounded like something got destroyed. All right. That would be almost the end of the show. China will rule us in 2021. It's a Chinese century. Where they take control of the world at is what we're kind of trying to gauge. Jimmy Rogers made that prediction in 2005 that this would be the Chinese century. He's the other half of Quantum Fund with George Soros. Those guys never had a losing year. He's incredibly accurate. His timing's not so great, and he acknowledges it. But I watched him in an interview in 2005, moving his kids into Singapore, teaching them Mandarin, and that dude's never wrong. It's just a matter of when it comes. I'd estimated 2030s was the really critical moment. If China had ever figured out that estimate and knew that they need to bump the timeline forward before the West could hedge and get into space, it actually makes sense. They're not dumb. They use AI, they understand game theory, and they very much could figure out that they would be in jeopardy if the West ever got weapons in orbit or around the moon. So short-circuiting the West before they get into space, that's tactically genius. And how better to take the entire West out with something like this that literally they can't fight back against, and they have plausible deniability. It even came from China with any kind of a plan because it hit China first. It's it covers every fucking base you could need to cover to fucking smash us in the face and not be able to say for sure, you fucking got me. But it's done as much damage as any war could have ever fucking hoped to have done. And it may affect our fucking fertility and sterilize a generation of people and recur later and leave long-lasting lung damage. It's an insane fucking thing that's come out of nowhere, and they need to shutter their city and spray disinfectant in something that no one knew was airborne. It's definitely reeks. Something definitely reeks. So, Alicon. Yeah, I met you once. What up, Irish guy? Good to see you. Fractal out things again, dude. I appreciate you guys raining bits on here. That was pretty badass. Hopefully this info definitely helps you guys out. So, You guys stay safe. Guys, what are your thoughts on the current oil? Yeah. Damn, you threw that in right at the end. Okay. On oil, uh, Russia looks to have had a part in meddling in elections and installing people in office. The people that are in office seem to be detrimental to making a smart decision in a critical moment. Russia and China are allies since 2002. We've mentioned that a few times before. And I was always of the mindset that Russia would ultimately be played by China if they ever worked with them to take out the Western leadership. Ultimately, Russia is not the biggest beneficiary of what's going on with coronavirus. China is. But dumping oil through the pavement in a fucking price war with the Middle East in the exact moment that corona is paralyzing the whole planet is also a time you can't overlook, because it just crippled all of the U.S. shale production and leveled the entire energy industry in the United States on the back of what's happening with every other industry connected to the coronavirus. Does that benefit Russia to do in the middle of a global demand drop for energy? That doesn't even make sense. They're under fucking crazy sanctions, and their economy is folding on itself. And the one asset they have, produced at $6 to $8 a barrel, they help to shove through the fucking pavement by 30%. It's literally like they're trying to break the back of the West more than they're trying to make a play for the market. When you put all those pieces together, it looks like the two of those powers are fucking taking a sledgehammer to the entire world leadership the way it stood. So that's kind of what I see in that. Keep your eyes on oil. He's a big piece of what's taking the economy apart also, as he's getting crushed to the floor and keeping the energy sector literally on its back. All right, that was a quick summary. Did I get that all in there? I got everything? Got everybody's questions? All right. Whew. Sun's coming up. This mass isn't cool when the sun's bright, so I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I had fun. We'll catch up. Stay safe in the market today. Keep your eyes on VIX level 81. If we throw back up there, you need to see the crash cycle take us back through the shockwave breakout of VIX Mageddon. Until we're way back down, again, it's not safe. It's a trader's market. Don't get wrecked, guys. Till next time, I'll see you. Peace.
Welcome to Winternomics TV. Your stream will begin shortly.